Hello, my name is Ben.
And my name's Josh.
Welcome back to FPL Graduates and welcome back to another video where today we're going to be going through our FPL teams for this game week. Very much looking forward to it. Josh is coming off the back of a wild card that hasn't quite gone as planned as of so far. Let's get into his team and see if he's made any changes from that wild card.
As Ben kindly alluded to, my wild card sort of hit a massive stump in the road there. Didn't go to plan. I don't think a lot of people's wild cards did this week, to be fair. Obviously, all the Arsenal assets pretty much blanked unless you had Kai Havertz, and even he only got 6 points. And then obviously I didn't have Palmer, even though I did recommend him though, if you did see the short form video that came out. So at least some people might have hopped on that. Going into my team, obviously the double Arsenal defence is still there. I'm still really happy to have them. They only conceded 0.24 XG against Leicester and conceded 2 goals, which is very unlike them, to be honest. The first goal though was a deflected header. The second goal was just a worldie from James Justin, so fair play to him. Hoping for a clean sheet though against this Southampton side who, to be quite honest, I don't think Russell Martin knows his best team yet. He seems to be chopping and changing every single week. We can't really get a guaranteed starter. We saw obviously Tyler Dibbling start up front for Southampton against Bournemouth, so it will be interesting. I'm expecting a clean sheet though, and if they don't keep a clean sheet, that is an absolute... Oh, it just hurts to say it, even thinking about it. It'll be really rough for wildcarders if that does happen. Rico Lewis is in the team. I'm hoping he does start. He did play 90 minutes in midweek, but he has been playing exceptionally well. So I'm hoping that his form keeps him in the team rather than his fitness, which I think he should do. And if he does start against Fulham, I will be hoping for some returns there because he's been absolutely magnificent so far this season. And then we've got Diogo Dalot at the moment. It's a tough one. For me, he's in there. Obviously, I picked him on wildcard just because the attacking threat's been there. It's been significantly higher than seasons gone by. He's been inverting a little bit, which has been picking up interesting positions in the centre of the pitch. It's the fixture though. Aston Villa away. I don't expect United to keep a clean sheet there at all. It's just the defenders that I've got on the bench. I don't expect Mikalenko to keep a clean sheet against Newcastle. I'm a bit 50-50 to be honest between Greaves and Dalot, but I think Dalot, obviously with the attacking threat, just sort of edges it for me. What's your thoughts on the defence, Ben, and what would you do in that 50-50?
Yeah, it's a 50-50 call, but I think that as tough as it is, that's probably the right decision. It's the best of a sort of bad bunch in terms of fixtures this week.
Yeah.
I think if Rico Lewis starts, you should, in theory, have sort of 3 out of 4 clean sheets. And in theory, that's brilliant. In practice, it can be a little bit different. But yeah, like the Gabriel and Raya double up, I think, is the best one to go for defensively from Arsenal. And Rico Lewis is the best value in terms of the City defenders. So I think all in all, very good. Dalot is that problem at the moment for you. I think you can make a case to make a transfer, as much as it hurts doing it a week after a wild card. You know, that could be sort of something that you could consider.
Okay then, so we're going to move into the midfield. We've got Bukayo Saka coming up first. Obviously created 4 big chances against Leicester. Didn't come away with any returns, just the 1 bonus point. So again, super impressed by him. Just not quite got those returns last week. I expect that to change this week. Hoping he can get like a penalty or something. I think the goal threat's really lacking with him, which is something, maybe a case not to have him. Is he'll get consistent returns. You just know that it won't be those double-digit hauls that like we see with the Palmers, maybe Phil Foden's last season as well. So yeah, for me, obviously I'll keep him for the next 2 weeks, but he probably will move on after that when the fixtures get a little bit tougher for Arsenal. And Buemo's up next. Obviously got the goal in the first minute again last week, but for me, I'm quite worried about that Brentford attack. They didn't really create anything. They were actually the second worst for XG last game week created against a West Ham team who have been, let's face it, conceding a lot of XG so far this season. So I think the impact of this is maybe to be seen there at the moment. So one to keep an eye on. I wouldn't say he's as maybe essential as what he was a week ago, but he is talismanic, and being that sort of focal point for Brentford, he will get points because he's just the only guy who can get goals for them, basically. Semenyo was up next. I thought he played exceptionally well against Southampton. Obviously got the goal, probably could have got a little bit more as well. So happy to have him for that Leicester away fixture this week. Morgan Rogers, again, could be valued at like 6.5 million. Like, that's the way I look at him at the moment. He's just been so consistent. He's got the minutes. Okay, he came off early against Ipswich, but he scored in that game, which was, we haven't seen him score yet this season. So that's 3 returns so far in the opening 6 for him. And then Luis Diaz, I literally told myself all week that I wasn't going to go with Luis Diaz, but then I was seeing all the leaks of this Wolves team. They're going to have like a 16-year-old in defence, and I was like, I've got to have some form of Liverpool attack. Chose the wrong one. Jota and Salah gets the returns, and Diaz gets nothing. So now I'm stuck with Luis Diaz, who has Crystal Palace away this week. I don't think it's a terrible fixture, but I probably will look to move him up to Phil Foden. If not this week, probably next week. So yeah, he'll be probably the first player out of the wild card at the moment, is that I can see. So what's the thoughts in the midfield, Ben?
Yeah, like decent. I'd say that, Saka, I agree with the sentiment there. He's consistent, but the returns aren't there. I think Mbeumo is less of a problem than you probably sort of think in there, because for me personally, I'm looking at bringing him in myself just because of that talismanic aspect of it. Semenyo, agreed, fantastic. Same with Rodgers, you can't complain at all. A little bit frustrating again with that Diaz pick, but that's just the play that you've sort of made there, and you've almost covered yourself and gone safe. And like you could very well have gone all out and not gone with a Liverpool player, and Diaz could have returned on another day. So at the end of the day, I think the decision that you made was a sensible one, and it does leave you sort of, in terms of squad structure anyway, with a route to Phil Foden, which I think is the important thing you got to take away from that.
Okay then, and then onto the forward line, we've got Ollie Watkins up first. He's been absolutely incredible since I brought him in. I think it was in game week 3. Returning every week, obviously got the goal and assist last game week for that double-digit haul with the 11-pointer, which was massive. If he didn't get those points last week, I was looking really ropey. So yeah, happy to have him at the moment. United at home this week is a great fixture for Villa. Obviously defensively, I would say United have been terrible this season, but there's definitely there's signs that they can get cut through at will. So yeah, more than happy to have Watkins this week. Haaland on the captaincy, I probably won't change it. I could go Saka, but for me, I just don't think Haaland to blank 2 weeks in a row. It's probably going to happen now, but yeah, I back him at the Etihad to get some goals against that Fulham side. And obviously that does mean I am benching Chris Wood away to Chelsea, which I'm not too happy doing, because he's obviously a penalty taker. He's going to score for Forest most of the time. It's just that I don't know who I would bench if I was to play him. It'd probably be Morgan Rogers, and at the moment against that United defence, I'm not so sure. What's your thoughts on that, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough benching decision because Chris Wood could very well come away with returns against Chelsea. Like, Chelsea don't look the best defensively. They do concede chances, and Wood's the sort of striker that will unsettle that Chelsea defence. So it's just a case of who you drop for him. I think you could make a case depending on sort of, as we're recording, the Liverpool game is playing. It could, if Diaz gets a full 90, then you sort of almost made the decision for you. But it is a really difficult one because the sort of front seven is strong. So it's just going to be a case. I think it will probably get down to the deadline, and that decision will sort of open out based on press conferences, etc., on what you should be doing there. Okay, so moving on into my team, I still have the wild card in hand, which is helpful. Potentially looking at doing it maybe game week 8, maybe game week 12 to get Cole Palmer in. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm not really sort of planning too far ahead with this at the moment, which is a bit unlike me. Usually I plan about 20 weeks in advance, but there we are. To start in goal, we've got David Raya and the Gabriel double up, just like Josh. I really do think that there's good value in both of them, and the defence should keep a clean sheet. Let's see if that happens. I've got a lot of money in the defence. I've got Gvardiol as well. Fulham at home, really excited to own them for that. Fairly secure in the minutes as well. Maybe sort of not so much with Rico Lewis, but Gvardiol, he should be fairly nailed on to start. And then Trent Alexander-Arnold, who, again, could come away with a haul here against Palace away. I'm not the most confident in the world with him, but I do think the attack and returns are there, and he is providing good threats. So fairly happy to keep him for now. Josh, what's the thoughts on the defence going a little bit more on the expensive side?
Yeah, I don't mind it though, because they're all of them are fantastic picks in their own right. Obviously, we've discussed the Arsenal defence already, but Trent for me is probably, I'd say he'd be my favourite Liverpool asset to own right now. Obviously, going into a tougher fixture run, so maybe the clean sheets aren't there, but his price compared to Salah is obviously a lot cheaper, and I think you're going to get those guaranteed minutes, unlike you're going to do with Jota and Diaz. So yeah, for me, I really like him as a pick, especially for this week against Palace. I think Palace have been pretty poor so far this season. So yeah, I'd be happy to have him. And Gvardiol, we spoke about him in our transfer plans video. If you haven't seen that, do check it out. I think he's a fantastic option, as you mentioned, Ben, in that video, that obviously with Rodri being out, that does allow Gvardiol to get further forward. with them playing those two holding midfielders instead of the one. So yeah, for me, I think it's a fantastic option. And yeah, I think we can see more attacking returns from him going forwards.
Okay, so moving on into the midfield, and unlike wildcarders, we've kept with Mohamed Salah, and we came away with a captaincy haul last week, which was really good. And I am actually really happy to keep him on. Like, he's looking really sharp this season. He's getting attacking returns. Got another attacking return in midweek, which is fantastic as well. So happy to keep him in the team. The transfer out that I've got planned at the moment is Garnacho out. It leaves me with 7.5 in the bank. So I think Mbeumo is probably the best one to go for there. Just the talismanic option. The fixture against Wolves is really nice as well. So I'm considering sort of a couple of different options, but at the moment he's at sort of the top of my watch list. Semenyo and Rodgers to round off the team. Brought in Semenyo last week to sort of try and match the wildcarders, and that was the one player that did sort of get a return. So really happy with that. Bit unhappy he didn't get bonus points, but he can't win it all. And then, like just said with Rodgers, he's just been fantastic so far this season, really providing some really good value for managers. Josh, what's the thoughts there on the midfield?
Yeah, I like it. Obviously, Salah, I'd say he slowed down since the start of the season in terms of those, real big hauls. But you know what you're getting with him. Like at the weekend, you get that penalty. He's so good for bonus points because of all the actions that he does through a 90. So you're probably going to get, some chance of bonus as well, which obviously makes him that price tag and makes it worth it. The rest of midfield, obviously, really good options. They're in my team as well. So yeah, I like the transfer. I don't see another option as good as Mbeumo at that price point. So yeah.
Okay, and moving on to my strike force. With this transfer that I'm making, we are assuming and hoping that João Pedro is fit to play this weekend, which is not going to be a guarantee. He hasn't played minutes since his injury. So let's wait and see really on the press conferences. And if he is injured, I've got a bit more of a decision to make there. Do I bring in someone like Konza or Smith Rowe off the bench, or do I sort of change my transfer plans a little bit for that? That'll just have to sort of wait and see. Haaland on the captaincy as well. That's not going to move. Fulham at home's a fantastic fixture. I don't see Haaland blanking 2 weeks in a row. Like Josh said, I think he's just too good and too consistent not to score again. So happy with that. And then Vardy at Bournemouth at home, which, you know what, it's not the worst fixture in the world. Like, he's not set the world alight since I brought him in, but let's hope for a couple of returns. He's getting the minutes, which is, so fantastic for that price point, and I can't complain at all. It does mean, however, Konza is on the bench. The Villa defence hasn't really sort of performed too well for any of the season so far. If they're gonna perform against anyone, though, it'd probably be against Manchester United. So let's see about that. Smith Rowe on the bench as well. You could sort of make a case for him to start, but because I've got Gvardiol in there, I don't really want to sort of spread the risk. I'd rather just go all in on City and just hope that they sort of beat Fulham by a decent margin. And then Harwood Bellis as well. We got a goal off the on my bench last week. A little bit frustrating, but never going to start him. So Josh, what's the thoughts on the overall team?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's actually El Pedro pick, isn't it? If he's not fit to start again, then it does put you in a bit of a dilemma whether you make that Mbeumo move. I think, Smith Rowe fixture this week's not great, but the 5 after that are actually pretty good. The FDR doesn't say so, but Villa defensively for me aren't a great team. I don't even recall them keeping a clean sheet yet this season. So yeah, for me, I think I'd keep him. It's just whether you might have to make a defensive transfer. Then it's what's the upside in that? So it's a tough call to make. I mean, I guess you're hoping for João Pedro to stay, and then you can obviously make that Mbeumo move. But overall, I think the squad, considering you haven't wildcarded, is really good. Okay then, so that wraps up our Game Week 7 team reveals. What do you think of them? Let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah, and as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the FPL Graduates. I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good game week, everyone.
So you may rise, but you'll never make me